Hi guys, Chris here with Super Savvy Travelers. Hey, we're so excited because we have a little treat for you. We've been in Rome, and happily when we were in Rome, we were lucky enough to hook up with the guys at Keller Williams Italia. Now you guys all know Keller Williams as a stellar brand of real estate, and we were contacted by some of the guys from Keller Williams Italia, and they wanted to work with us. So today we have Riccardo Izzarelli from Rome, and he works with Keller Williams Italia, and I asked him to do an interview so you can get to know him. He's brilliant in English, brilliant in Italian, brilliant in all manner of real estate, and I wanted you to really get to know him here. And we have some questions for him about the neighborhoods in Rome. So let's get on it. Hi Riccardo, how are you?
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Pete. Thank you so much for your compliments. First of all, like very, very nice of you. And yes, we've met a couple weeks back in our Rome office at Keller Williams, and we found ourselves very well, very quick. So I'm really glad to be here in front of your beautiful followers. And I'll introduce myself. My name is Riccardo Izzarelli. I am almost 32 years old. I've been a realtor at Keller Williams for the best part of 3 years now. And I have been, given my English skills involuntarily, I've been working a lot with foreigners trying to buy property here in Italy, which is a kind of a particular sector, a different sector. So it's not what I was initially planning to do, but here I am, and I like it very much. It is very. I like working. I've received an international education since I was a kid, so it was always it was probably always destined to be like this. And right now I'm here with you, and I would love to, have everyone discover the beauties of Rome and everything that my city has to offer. I was born and raised in Rome, even though I have very little Italian accent, but I understand. But I'm a native Roman, and yeah, here I am. I would like to talk you through a few of our neighborhoods, talk you through a few of our specialities, a few of our not so specialities, because it's very complex city if you don't know your way around it. But yeah, do you want to know what do you want to know about some neighborhoods? I mean, I've prepared some here. I don't.
Yeah, well, I think probably the things that we'd like to know, first of all, what are your favorite neighborhoods? And of course, our guys are always looking for value in property, right? I can imagine that some of the neighborhoods you're going to pay a lot of money, and the value may not be as good as a neighborhood, maybe just a little bit, a little bit farther along. So what is your take on that? If you can tell us your favorite neighborhoods, and then what kind of property values are we looking at?
I will give you a general overview of how Rome is structured, and then I will go more into detail, highlighting especially what are the pluses and the minuses for who is trying to purchase property. They won't realistically, they won't be living in it all year round. So
Okay.
I live in the northern part of Rome. My neighborhood is called Fleming. So
Mhm.
it's a very residential area. Prices are high, but it's not. It's pretty close to the center, fairly close. And like my neighborhood, there are many others which are hug, let's say, the historical center of Rome. They're
Ah,
situated right outside, but they remain pretty much residential areas. So you have your stores close by. There's a lot of parks. There's a lot of services, but they're not like central areas, even though they're very close.
mhm.
They are very good for people working here and who like to, sort of disconnect from the city because it's a very chaotic city, but they like to, take a break from the chaos when they get back home. So moving further in, uh, I will give you an intake of on four of my favorite neighborhoods.
Wonderful.
First, which is Aventino. Aventino is, let's say, south central Rome. It is very close to the Colosseum. It's only about the closest point of Aventino right until the Colosseum is about 900 meters. So you can walk on foot. It's perfect. It's also very close to Testaccio, which is a very characteristic neighborhood. It's a historic Roman neighborhood.
Mm.
And in Aventino, the property is, well, it's quite pricey because you're very close to the center. You have different types of buildings. You either have old flat buildings with big apartments, or you have villas that are literally 800 meters from the Colosseum. There's very few of them, and obviously they have quite a price tag. But the highlights of that area are the Colosseum, of course, Terme di Caracalla,
Yeah.
which used to be the old thermal baths of Emperor Caracalla, which is an architectural complex all made of Roman brick, which lies exactly behind Aventino, while the Colosseum is right to the right. When you're back to the thermal baths, it's to the right, and also the Circo Massimo, Circus Maximus.
Yes, yes.
And obviously Palatine Hill, Colle Palatine, they're all there.
Yeah.
So it really is, it starts to get residential the further you go out, but really you are absolutely in the heart of Rome. I actually own a property. I rent out as an Airbnb there, have been renting it for 6 years. And I would advise anyone interested in purchasing property they're not really going to live in to consider the Aventino area, because it's got the metro right underneath, which is not common in Rome. Metro in Rome is not like other cities in Europe or Milan in Italy, where you have a big wide network. We only have 2 metro lines and don't touch all the city. But Aventino, you can do everything within walking distance. And I don't really see any minuses in Aventino except for the parking, maybe. The parking, well, that's a bit of a common practice on Rome. When you come to Rome, you'll see people parking, inventing, creating parking spots where you don't sit. So I guess it's part of our folklore, but I really don't see any downsides on Aventino. It's a really, really nice area.
It sounds lovely. Now, let me ask you, what would somebody pay for, say, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment, say 50, 60 square meters, roughly, more or less, in Aventino?
Here our 2 bedrooms is going to necessarily be bigger than 60 square meters, because by law, a double bedroom has to be at least 20 square meters. And a single bedroom has to be right around 14, 15. So if you were to have 2 bedrooms, that would be almost 50 meters itself. Yes. So let's say a 2-bedroom apartment in the city starts at around 85, 90 square meters, and your prices, you're looking at anywhere from 350,000 euros for a property needing to get restored, all the way up to 430, 440.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
My property I manage personally is, I'll just give you some numbers, which are from my experience. Obviously, I don't really just want to get into financial details straight away, but I'll just give you a general highlight. I've got about an 80 square meter apartment I purchased 6 years ago. I remember it was the Brazilian Olympics on when I started renting it out. And I've had it for 6 years, and I've never lost a penny on it, because it always reels in about 25, 30,000 euros a year.
Wow.
It pretty much pays itself.
Yeah.
Just before taxes, obviously, but I mean, it's always full. As we speak, it's still full. I'm fully booked all the way through mid-June, beginning of July, and we're only in February. So it's a great area. It was a total discovery for me, because I come from the opposite part of town. Rome is a very big center. The historic center of Rome is the biggest by far in all of Europe. No other city in Europe has just the historic center the size of Rome. It's 10 to 20 times Paris, just the center. Paris is a bigger overall city, obviously. It's massive. So it was a great discovery for me, and I would do it again. I'm actually looking for more property to either acquire or to rent, and to start a new Airbnb on it, because it's going that well. So,
wow. Well, yeah, that makes sense, because Rome is such a popular city, and unlike where we are in Calabria, ours is very seasonal, right? And it's
Yes.
somewhat seasonal in Rome, but it's, still you get people all through the year, don't you? Even
Yeah.
Christmas, they have the Christmas things and everything else. So it's a whole
Well,
around.
yes, no. The big plus over here in Rome is like there's no real high or low season. Obviously, there will be some times of the year where there is more people coming in. Nominally, those will be April, May,
Mm-hmm.
June, July, and August. It's really, really, really hot. It gets really
Yes.
hot, like
Yes.
high 90s, low hundreds, but it's very, very hot and humid. But you still have people coming in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awards. And well, we've had a number of jubilees as well. We've had two in the past decade, basically.
Wow.
We're looking forward to a holy year, which was proclaimed by the Vatican just months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So you have pilgrims pouring in, and it's always there's a lot of turnover, and it's
Mm-hmm.
after COVID, it picked up really quick right away. And
Good.
also, the fact that we really don't have a winter anymore. I mean, right now I'm looking out of the window. It's mid 60s, talking Fahrenheit, so
Yeah.
it's about 15 to 17 degrees Celsius outside. So
Beautiful.
it's really nice. I mean, our winter lasted 2.5 weeks this year, which is marvelous.
That's wonder. Yeah, that was 2.5 weeks. Yeah, I remember that 2.5
Well, yeah,
weeks.
you were here, so
Yeah. So fantastic. You do property management as well. So if somebody were to buy a property, they could hire you to manage it and rent it out on Airbnb,
absolutely.
right?
Actually, I got into real estate. This is nice because I didn't tell you this. I worked before moving into real estate. I was working a totally different job. I was working in telecommunications, like
Ah,
my grandfather did for a long time. So I got carried into it. Not really willingly, let's say, sort of unwillingly.
uh-huh.
But I started working really young. I started working at 20. So
Okay.
I was doing everything but working into real estate. And my first experience with real estate was property management.
Mm,
So, which is not obviously, it's a whole different game once you get into it. But,
yeah.
managing a property, knowing how to, work the hospitality, knowing I've managed a number of those. Now, when I moved into real estate, some properties got sold, and I ended up keeping just the one I own. But I'm still looking every day to, purchase a property and manage it. Because if you have a high level, a high standard of service, it really does work itself. It
Yeah.
markets itself. Because I do zero marketing on my property,
Oh,
zero.
okay.
I am full all year round because I've worked well for the first 5, 6 years, and now I have people coming back every year. Some people don't even contact me on Airbnb anymore; they just text me and hey, I'm coming in September. Can you hold me the house for 2 weeks? And I'm like, yeah, sure, for sure. Nice to see you. So it's nice seeing people come back, after 3, 4, 5 years. It's really an experience. So yes, I am looking to property manage. I am also, well, my mom retired recently, so I'm looking to, hire her, low
Mhm.
cost, low labor cost, let's call it. Parents love and everything. So
Yeah.
yes, I am looking to property manage further, and that was really my first love as far as the job goes because
Uh,
I love public relations. I love to talk.
yeah. Yeah. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So okay, so we have your first neighborhood, which we love. What's next? I'm very much on tenterhooks because I want to know what you like.
We're going to cross the river
Huh?
from, no, we're going to cross the Tiber. And there's this long street called Via Marmorata, which basically cuts all the way from Trastevere to Piramide, or from
Okay.
Piramide to Trastevere.
Okay.
So, goes without saying, our next neighborhood will be Trastevere, which
Hmm.
in Latin you translate from Latin, which is trans Tiberi, literally across the Tiber.
Right.
It used to be, it used to be during ancient Roman times, there was actually a slave market in
Mm.
Trastevere. It was illegal to trade in slaves on this side of the Tiber, let's say, on the left bank of the Tiber, because there was all the temples and everything. So all the, let's say, dirty trades would take place in Trastevere.
Ah.
Trastevere is a popular neighborhood. Popular, when I say popular, I mean it in the literal sense of the term, etymologically. I think that is the word.
Mhm.
So, popular meaning it would be historically, it was a neighborhood where let's say, the Roman Vogue lived.
Mm.
So, small houses, very old buildings, narrow streets. Most of it is either medieval or most of what you see of Trastevere today is either medieval or from the Renaissance.
Ah, okay.
It is a nightlife hotspot.
Hmm.
So also there's going to be people around pretty much all night, every night. So there's a lot of bars in Italy and bars in English. I hope
Yeah,
coming to the US quite a bit. I figured that there's a difference between bars in the States and bars over here in Europe. But
yeah.
so let's say there's a lot of Italian bars. So there's music going. There's people outside with drinks in the street. It's all very nice. It's very lively. Obviously, it appeals to a different type of client because if
Hmm.
you want rest, if you want some sleep, you may want to look elsewhere. We're going to get there in my next neighborhood because I plan my itinerary very
Yeah.
careful at this point.
Okay, yeah. Well, Trastevere is very beautiful. Cobblestone streets, a lot of really nice restaurants, very characteristic, a lot of shops and
Yes,
things like that.
you do everything on foot in Trastevere. There's no need for a car because you wouldn't know
Oh,
where to
that's
get
nice.
anyway. There's no parking whatsoever in Trastevere.
Yeah.
You're right underneath the Gianicolo Hill, which is probably where you get the best view of the city and the rear part of Trastevere. You can literally walk up. It's a beautiful walk. It's a beautiful street. There's a beautiful fountain up at the top.
Oh,
So
nice, nice.
it'll be fantastic. As far as property goes, it's a very different neighborhood, right in the construction. It's conceived differently compared to Aventino. Aventino is already it's a little later.
Yeah.
From the 1800s, early 1900s. Trastevere obviously used to be a medieval neighborhood, medieval Renaissance. So the houses are going to be smaller.
Hmm.
Some of the houses are not going to have an elevator. It's
Hmm.
hard to see houses taller than 3 stories. And they're not three regular stories.
Yeah.
They're short. They're small.
Ah.
Property is well, it's expensive because for the same size apartment I was telling you, so let's say 2 bedrooms around 100 square meters. Chances are, if you buy 100 square meters, they're going to be more than one property put together
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
because the houses used to be very small in the
Yeah.
olden days. Keep them
Yeah.
warm, there wasn't that much money. So if you were buying 120 square meters in Trastevere, it could cost you up to 500,000. I
Ooh.
strongly advise you get if yes, that is restored. But I'll explain to you why. If you ever were to purchase property in Trastevere, I always advise you to get a restored property
Yeah.
because you never know how much you're going to end up spending in renovations on when you put your hands on such old buildings. You don't want to be the first one to lay your hands on it. I understand people like projects as well, but I wouldn't start there because there's also, well, we've got the fine arts here as well. So some buildings are subject to the fine arts legislation. So
Ah.
you gotta get through so much paperwork. So I strongly advise for whoever wants to buy property in Trastevere to do a thorough check, which I can do obviously,
Mhm.
a thorough cadastral check.
Yeah.
Cadastral means everything related to the construction and urbanistics in Rome.
Yeah.
And maybe you're best off buying something already renovated because you can just put it on the market as an Airbnb and have it full pretty much all year round.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends who are doing it, who inherited property or who purchased it later on or simply managing them, and they're working a lot with
Yeah.
Trastevere.
Oh, that's fantastic.
from Trastevere, we'll cross back, but we'll cross back not from the same bridge we crossed on. We're going to cross a bridge called Ponte Sisto.
Okay.
Either that or we can cross the next bridge where you get a beautiful view of the Isola di Marina, which is the island that's right on the river.
Oh,
Beautiful.
yeah.
And we're going to cross into Rione. It's called Ponte.
Okay.
Rione Ponte meaning bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And that is still mostly 16th century buildings around.
Wow.
It's more quiet than Trastevere. The streets are wider. There's a lot of churches because
Mm.
it's let's say what we would call a papal built, papal meaning pope, not the notorious pagan
Okay.
neighborhood. There's a lot of different. Well, you know how it works here. Every family would have a pope elected, so
Hmm.
it can be the Farnese, it can be the Borgia,
Yeah.
it can be the Farnese Borgia. Let's say
And
Medici. Medici, I don't think they had a pope actually, but Della Rovere had popes.
oh yeah,
So
yeah,
many
yeah.
families had popes, and every family would build churches and schools,
Oh,
have buildings on it. For example, crossing over from Ponte Sisto, you'll pretty much run into Piazza Farnese, which is this beautiful wide square right by Campo di
yeah.
Fiori, with this Palazzo Farnese, which is currently rented.
Mm.
It's not rented; it's actually leased to France. It's France's embassy in Rome.
Yeah. Beautiful.
We've leased it. We as Italians leased it to France for 100 years
Mm.
for $1.
$1.
One
Oh man,
dollar.
that's like prime real estate.
Yeah, well, those are the perks of losing World War II. So we were sort of on a historic note. That is, yeah, that's pretty much what happened. So they
Yeah.
they they can still have it for about 100 years,
Uh,
and that is property over there. You have Campo di Fiori,
yeah,
which is
beautiful.
very, very popular area. Campo di Fiori, Piazza Navona. On that side of the river, it's all much more connected. Okay,
Yes.
so
Hmm.
you have Piazza Farnese, Campo di Fiori, which becomes Piazza Navona after. And once you
Yeah.
get near Piazza Navona, all the back streets, the back roads lead you to the Pantheon, to the
Ah,
House of Parliament. So that is a fantastic area. It's absolutely huge to walk in. I have just now a client coming from Beverly Hills actually, who well we're finalizing now a purchase of his dream home. He actually ended up purchasing property right on Via dei Condotti, which is right underneath Piazza di Spagna,
oh,
and
nice.
that is the most high end you can get. So
Yeah.
I gave a little bit of everything. Property in Rome is not cheap.
It's not cheap wherever you go. So that I have to say that the area around Campo di Fiori, Piazza Farnese, and Piazza Navona is my favorite because the Jewish ghetto is right across the way. So I would
There's
imagine
also
it's pretty pricey. What were we looking at for an apartment over there?
apartment, depending always on the condition. Condition is paramount. Again, if the older the building, the more I advise you buy a finished product.
Yeah.
Finished
Yeah.
as far as plumbing goes, as far as the walls inside, because it's always very, very complex. It's not unheard of that people ended up buying something it took them years to finish. So,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, as long as you do your background checks first, it's I mean, there's always a margin of safety, but you got to do your homework.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
my,
Yeah.
most of the time that will be my job, which is uh, it's very, very important you do your job very well in that case, because
Yeah.
you don't buy and purchasing something, maybe getting their mind and heart set to it, and then having to maybe stop renovation for 6 months because a signature on a piece of paper is missing. Apartments there are pricey. Let's say 150 square meters over there can cost in the ballpark of 1 million.
Yeah. Easily. Easily. That is a
Yeah,
prime area.
It is a prime area. That's where most of the luxury Airbnbs are. If you go on Airbnb, on VRBO or Booking, and you put the area Piazza Navona or Pantheon or Jewish Ghetto, and you
Yeah.
look for the high end properties, you'll see they can rent up to 800,000 per night if they're big enough,
Hmm.
especially if they have a terrace. Big pluses. So there's
Yeah.
that's a, I haven't I've never worked at those levels. I aspire to, one
Yeah.
day
Oh,
around
yeah.
work at those levels. But I've never came across the opportunity because in those cases you can't really buy. You always have to manage, and usually a management agreement. This is also important, I think, for our viewers. Usually, a standard management property management agreement here in Italy works 70% in favor of the owner,
Mm.
30% in favor of who's managing.
Okay.
With the utilities paid by the owner usually, but running costs such as cleaning and Wi-Fi and stuff like that,
Yeah.
usually it's customary for the manager to pay.
Oh, okay.
That is to give you the most complete overview I can think of right now.
Yeah.
So that really that is a beautiful area. It's just fantastic. You could just walk around all day. It's full. There's the Via dei Coronari, which it's like a back road going from basically Piazza Navona all the way to Corso Rinascimento and then the Pantheon. It's just a small road with all typical shops around. It's just
Beautiful.
a nice area, especially when it's spring or when it's autumn. Here, autumn lasts from, let's say, the days are really long. What's lovely about Rome is the climate, really, because
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
October you still eat outside without jacket on, and it's
Hmm.
really nice until the time changes. Really, it's really nice. You can walk around until 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, and it's still warm because the cobblestone
Yeah.
will get sun all day. When it's
Yeah.
night, it releases the heat.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
So it's a nightmare during the summer, but it's really nice when you walk at night, when it's September, October. So those are really the four top areas I really, really, really love. Obviously, there's many different areas, and I'm sure we're going to uncover them. I would love to take you on the spot one day, where
Yes.
follow up this video where we can just, go in the Aventino and show you the Aventino, show you how close it is to the
Yeah.
Coliseum. That would be a great video, and I'm looking forward to making one like that with you.
That would be lovely. And, if we have the opportunity to showcase a property or two in those areas, that would be amazing too. People love to see that. So,
Sure.
yeah, that is fantastic. Now, not only do you handle Rome, but you're also, of course, sort of reaching out. I know we talked about the fact that you have a house in Tropea and that you're very familiar with the area in and around Tropea and feel comfortable working that area as well, which is huge. And then also some parts of, say, Tuscany and that kind of thing is sort of reaching out a little bit there, handling some of our clients, which is wonderful. And we thank you very much for that.
I do. The good thing in Rome is it's its position. Also, you're
Yeah.
right in the middle. You're bang in the center of the country.
Yeah.
So it's real. The sea is really close. Tuscany, I go. I mean, in the nice season when I'm not working, I'm lucky. I got friends who got property in Tuscany, so I go to Porto Ercole very often. Porto Ercole, Porto Santo Stefano. It's about an hour and 45 minutes outside of Rome. I
Mm.
advise you check it out. It's a beautiful place. The sea is wonderful. Fantastic restaurants. One thing you got to know about Tuscany is the food, guys. It's
Oh,
just
oh, oh. This
and
steak.
there's also the Tuscan archipelago there. You have Giglio, Isola del Giglio, Isola di Giannutri, which are really close to the coast. They're about Giglio, I think it's about 10 nautical miles, 12 nautical miles
Mm,
off the coast.
mm. Oh,
You
wow.
can go to Isola del Giglio on a ferry from Porto Santo Stefano. It only takes about 35 minutes.
Wow.
Yes, I reached out to one of our mutual acquaintances just last night, and we're trying to purchase some property at the border between Lazio, Umbria, and Tuscany, which is called the Magic Triangle. Some call it because it's a Northern Lazio. Lazio is the region where Rome is.
Mhm.
Umbria is the most central region in Italy. We call it the green lung of Italy because it's a fantastic region. It's all hills.
Oh,
It's a little more rustic version of Tuscany.
yeah.
It is absolutely mind blowing.
Mhm.
And Tuscany obviously is Tuscany, but
Yeah.
Tuscany is very big, so it varies from different
Yes.
parts.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we're trying to figure out a deal here to have this client of ours try and acquire this Tuscan property, this Umbria, actually, it's an Umbria
Yeah.
property,
Yeah.
and it's a beautiful farmhouse. I mean, it's really really nice. He would also buy it as an investment. So I did some research. It's already on Airbnb, so you can expect up to 500 euros a day on property like that.
Wow.
We're talking a
Wow.
300 square meter villa with 5,000 square meters of park and olive trees all around it, big swimming pool.
Yeah.
So
Beautifully
just to
done.
give a general overview on, how much the different areas also can reel in. Obviously, country houses have one thing. They need maintenance. They need gardening. So
Hmm.
it's different. You're probably, if you were to buy property in places like that or that type of property, it would be very important to talk to the owners about their landscaping situation.
Yes. Yes.
Possibly maintain their landscaper if they have a crew, because it's just, the countryside here, getting so much sun, getting so much rain, it grows so quick. I mean, if you go there and you don't cut the grass or anything, and let's say in spring for a month, you're just going to end up with herbs, six,
Yeah.
six
Yeah.
feet tall. Yes, sort of. And yeah, the Calabria area as well. Well, we've met talking about Calabria because when you came, I was in a call conference and I heard you talking about Calabria. So
Yeah.
Calabria is actually what had us meet in the first place.
Yeah.
And yeah, I own property in Tropea. I have it was my grandparents' villa, which when my grandfather passed away, I sort of inherited.
Hmm.
And it's a beautiful villa. I would love to feature it on your property because I do rent that one for a short term vacation. And actually, I'm going there next week, so I hope to get some pictures in. And you'd be more than luck. If we're ever down south together, I would love to show it to you, to
Oh,
have you being my guest there, because it's a fantastic place. The
yeah.
town, the specific town in Zambrone, which is very, 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 very small town,
Mhm.
which is only 8 kilometers away from Tropea, which is a beautiful. They call it the pearl of the Tirreno. Tirreno
Yeah.
is the
Yeah. It's beautiful.
that part of the Mediterranean. It's a very touristic area during the summer, but it's got beautiful beaches. The beach there is almost 4 kilometers long, so it's 2.5 miles long.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the biggest beaches I've ever seen in Italy. And there's a lot of places to go, things to see. The food there is very, very, very good.
Oh, yeah.
Again, it's hard to find a single place in Italy where you don't eat very well.
That is true.
It's all different cuisines. Like Tuscany, you get a lot of meat, but there's also a lot of fish in Calabria. Very, very, very nutritious stuff.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. I love the Calabrian, and each little hill town in Calabria has its own cuisine. Santa Domenica has its own cuisine.
Yeah.
And some of the things I've gotten here, you can't find them anywhere else. So yeah, I mean, eating through Italy is a dream of mine. I just want to go everywhere and eat something in each place and compare them. But it's always good. I think I've only had one bad meal in Italy, and that was it was right next to the train station, and it was not owned by Italians.
Well, there's a lot of people. Unfortunately, the center of Rome, we could also do, some sort of service on the best places to go eat in Rome.
Yes.
That's
Yes. Now that's something
believe
I
it or
would
not,
love.
in the center of Rome, it's very easy to actually not eat well
Ah,
because many places, unfortunately, it's some places will just try and drag in tourists. The people, when you see people and when you see restaurants that have a guy in the door trying to bring you in,
yeah.
never,
Ah,
never,
okay. Okay.
ever eat there
Okay.
because they will just feed you probably frozen stuff, sell it to you as Italian cuisine, and they do massive disservice to us as a country, as
Yeah.
people, because they will charge you a lot of money for it, and once you're out the door, they will have cashed out and not care.
Yeah.
So always be very, very careful if you ever need advices, tips on places where to eat. Uh, I would also be very glad to help people in that aspect. It's a little uh, courtesy. I see it as a small courtesy that could make a lot of difference, because eating having a bad meal, eating bad food, which was sold to you as Italian food, and not getting treated very nicely. That's something that just makes me so angry.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I mean, it is important. The experience, the whole experience, coming to buy a house. I was telling Pete the other day, you're not buying a house or a property. You're buying a life, and you're buying a dream. And your
that's it.
experience has to be great from start to finish. And that's why, Pete and I, whenever we can, when we first started, we're so hands-on. If somebody was having a bad experience at their accommodations, we would jump in and handle it for them, because you don't want a bad taste in your mouth on something like that. So I'm glad to hear you say that. Normally if you stay away from the monuments, if you stay away from menus in English, in the big
Yeah,
cities, you can do pretty well.
yeah. That is a good tip. That's a good tip. Absolutely, absolutely a good tip. But I mean, I've had also myself some. When you're working with hospitality in 5, 6 years, there can be something going wrong. But as a host, I've always reimbursed when I knew I was at fault or something happened which shouldn't have happened. I've
Yeah,
always reimbursed,
yeah,
because I've been doing it a long time, and rather take a financial loss than take my name.
yeah,
That's just how
exactly.
I am. I mean, people who work in Italy, it's very common to say only who's working makes mistakes, because obviously if
Mhm.
you're not doing anything, you can't make mistakes. But
Exactly.
it's
That's
very, very important to, step up, take responsibility, and say, yeah, I was wrong.
yeah.
And uh, here's your refund, because I mean, it's a decent thing to do.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's all anybody cares about, is just being acknowledged if they have a rough time, and help making it better. So we've been really, really lucky. We haven't really had challenges that we couldn't overcome with people. So it's been very, very
Yeah.
good. And I can tell that you're great with people. I can tell, because you've been great with us, and so accommodating and so responsive. So this is great, Riccardo. Thank you so much. This is pure gold as far as information goes, for anybody looking in and around Rome. And I also want to put a pitch in for those looking in the Tuscany area, anywhere in Abruzzo and those other areas. Check with us, because Riccardo has a car and he can travel. So,
Yes, I
so
do. I do have a car in which I spend way more time than I would like to admit. So, yeah, I can drive.
exactly, exactly. Hey, does SPQR mean senza parcheggio questi romani, vero?
That's exactly what it is. That is exactly.
Okay. Okay, good. Hey, listen, we'll go ahead and end it off here. This has been wonderful, and thank you so much for all your information. And
Thank you so much.
we really look forward to more interviews with you, some of your properties, whatever pictures or videos you have that you want to send us. We'll put them on the channel so people can really get a good idea of what it's like looking for properties in Rome. It's very different than staying in Rome. So we want
Absolutely.
to make that real for people.
Absolutely. Yes. I'm looking forward to more with you. And yeah, let's follow this up. I really had a great time with you. And I look forward to doing this again anytime.
Good. Me too. Me too. Well, this is fantastic, Riccardo. I think we've got some really, really good information for our guys now. So appreciate your help and your work.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure speaking to you and working with you.
Super.
I, I wish you a very nice day, and I will talk to you soon.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks a lot,
Ciao.
Riccardo. Ciao, ciao.